What's up guys, and welcome back to Move Plus. I hope you're all keeping well out there. Our workout today is going to have 4 parts to it, so we're going to be starting things off with the warm-up, so a little bit of prep work, get the blood flowing. Then we're going to go into the build workout, which is going to be shorter today. It's only 5 minutes, and we're going to see some diamond push-ups, some dead bugs, and some mountain climbers, so a lot of midline work through there. Then we go into the move workout, which is going to be 3 movements plus a rest round, so a little bit of interval style training. We'll touch base on what those movements are when we get there. We have finally a finisher at the end, which is going to be some direct arm work, so 4 minutes worth of hammer curls and alternating upright rows. As for now, we're going to get into the warm-up, guys. So we're going to start things off with 1 minute of cardio of your choice. So you guys can decide what you want to do there. What we're going to do is a dumbbell toe tap, so setting ourselves up in front and basically just hopping from right to left, using the dumbbell as the target for those feet to tap on there. So nice, simple movement. The next 4 minutes, we're going to do as many rounds as we can fit in of 10 alternating groiners. So we're coming down to that kind of long lunge position and then switching legs back and forth. Okay, from there we move into 10 air squats. So down nice and deep. We then move into 10 alternating reverse lunges. So stepping backwards, keeping the body nice and tall. So those things will just be on repeat for those remaining 4 minutes. Good to go, Maddie? Good. All right, starting in 10. So a minute of cardio of your choice, guys. You can do the same as us, or you can have your own choice on that one. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So if you are doing the same drill as us, guys, doesn't particularly matter what you're using for the toe taps. It doesn't have to be a dumbbell. It might just be a couch cushion or a rolled up towel, something like that. All it is just a target for you to lift your feet up onto. If you've got stairs in your house, you could use a step like that. And we're just thinking about staying nice and light and bouncy on the balls of the feet. So very similar to when we run, when you do things like skipping or double unders, that sort of stuff. Staying nice and springy and just going back and forth. And this one does heat up the calves pretty quick, so don't be afraid every now and then just to kind of shake them off a little bit if they get a little burny. Remember, this is just the warm-up, so just want to kind of ease into things. In about 20 seconds, once we cleared this first minute, we've got 4 minutes of alternating groiners, air squats, and reverse lunges, 10 reps a piece on each of those. Good, 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So we've got our groiners up first, guys. Now, this one's a little bit more of like a mobility drill rather than a heart rate kind of thing. So I'm gonna actually take this one a little slower and spend some time, like Matty is, he's doing a couple little bobbles at the bottom there, just driving those hips forward, driving that lead knee out to the side, so getting some good external rotation through his hip. Just having a little bit of a bounce there and then going back and forth, alternating till he's done 10. So you can feel free to go slow on that one. As we move into the air squats and the lunges, that's where we might pick up the pace a little bit. Nice. All right, into 10 air squats now. So key things we're looking for here, guys, is that the hips descend down below the level of the knees, right? So we want to get that nice deep squat where we feel like the back of your thighs and your calves start to kind of meet with one another. It's a nice deep knee bend. We want to also make sure that our heels are staying flat on the ground and our posture is tall. So if you ever find yourself kind of slumping down, dropping the head, dropping the chest, just pick that up nice and tall. Now that tall posture is going to carry across into these reverse lunges. So you can see now Matty's in even more of an upright position. He's stacking his head, shoulders, hips, and then whichever knee is going for the ground, that's all in one straight line. And we're going for 10. Nice. All right, so we'll cycle back around into those groiners again. So through the legs, this is kind of a similar kind of a position to the lunge, but what you will notice is that it's a fair bit longer. It's noticeably longer with that stance. And that's because we want to really open up through the hips, challenge that mobility. Nice. All right, back to the air squats again. And one of the common flaws that can pop up with any kind of squatting motion is that the knees might start to collapse inwards. We want to make a really strong effort to push outwards, create a really nice space through the hips. So you'll notice that Maddie's feet will kind of point in like a V shape, and those knees are going to follow with that as well. They're going to track with the toes. If we look at the front leg as Maddie does these lunges, so his left leg right now, that shin's going to be nice and vertical. So we're looking for that knee to stack over the ankle and the heel to have a good connection with the ground. We don't want to feel like we're stepping short and then kind of rolling up onto the ball of the foot. We want to feel like we have a nice, flat, grounded foot for that. All right, last minute of this warm-up. So we can see Maddie kind of training in that knee position that we talked about with the squats. Even in this drill, wherever his toe points, his knee's going to point as well. "15 seconds. So we'll get a couple of air squats in. So still hitting that nice controlled depth, keeping those heels flat on the ground. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, so that's the warm-up done, guys. Have a bit of a chill, and then we're gonna check out build next. Alrighty, so we're gonna have a look at the build workout now, guys. I mentioned in the brief earlier, this is a short one. It's only 5 minutes, so we're gonna try and keep the rest to a minimum, keep that workload up as much as possible. We've got 3 movements we're gonna cycle through as many times as we can. The first one is diamond push-ups, which is gonna look like this. So we're gonna go nice and close in with the hands. He makes sort of a diamond shape with the pointer finger and the thumb and moves through his push-ups. So he's gonna do 10 of those. We're then gonna flip it over into dead bugs. So this one we're gonna set up on our back, arms and legs up, and then we have opposite limbs extending. Okay, and we go back and forth on that one for 20. The last one we'll flip over one more time back into that push-up position, and we're gonna go into mountain climbers for 30. So this is running the legs back and forth, holding that push-up position along the way, and we'll just cycle those 3 movements as many times as possible in those 5 minutes. Good to go? Alrighty, we are going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Now with this diamond push-up, guys, this is a more challenging version than the regular push-ups. So you may find you might have to regress to doing a knee push-up or doing it on an elevated surface. But we want to have that really close position. As the name suggests, we're kind of making a diamond shape with the hands there, so pointer finger, thumb finger, and basically going chest to hands at the bottom. As we move into these 20 dead bugs, what we're thinking about is length in the body, right? So I'm trying to get those limbs nice and long. You can see Maddie stretching and reaching the leg out, pointing the toe, arms nice and locked out overhead. What's happening in the middle though is where all the work is happening, right? He's locking the abs, locking the whole trunk in place so that his ribs or his upper torso connects really well into the pelvis there, and it's gonna just lock as like a bridge in the middle. We're not gonna have any kind of arching or flexing as those limbs are moving. So it's a lot about bracing a static position through the body whilst the limbs are moving. So we're gonna go 20 of those. All right, switch it over into mountain climbers. Okay, so taking that push-up position, we can now take the hands out to kind of like a shoulder width kind of position. You don't need the diamond one for this one. And just running the legs underneath the body. So we're doing 30 reps on these. This is a really nice cardio movement, guys. It gets that heart rate up nice and quick. It's not too technical. There's not too much that can go wrong with this one. The main thing is just trying to keep that body kind of as still as possible. So we'll swing back around onto the diamond push-ups again. So you'll find with this one, it's going to have a much stronger emphasis on your triceps, so the back of the upper arm there. You'll find that you get into that really nice deep elbow bend. It's going to strengthen them up for all of our other pressing movements really well. Good stuff. Okay, so going to dead bugs again. So this being a shorter workout, guys, you want to try and minimize the rest periods. See, Maddie's just taking a couple of breaths between each movement, and that's keeping him turning things over nice and quick. If you have the ability to keep each individual movement as an unbroken set, that's obviously going to help a lot to keep things ticking over. But you can break things when you need to. It's just a matter of trying to hang on as much as possible. Now we see the tempo that Maddie's operating at here. This is nice because it's showing a lot of control. He could obviously be just swinging the arms back and forth a million miles an hour, but he's going to kind of miss the whole point of this one. This is a lot about controlling and bracing that torso, so make sure you're giving the body the chance to keep that stability going on. Okay, inside the last 2 minutes. Back on the mountain climbers. Now you might notice with this that Maddie is doing it on his knuckles. That's not a necessity. That's just something that he does individually. It's a bit more comfortable on his wrists, but you can go flat palms on the ground. I really like that he's extending the straight leg as far out the back as he can. He's not shortcutting that movement. He's not pitching the hips up really high. He's keeping everything on a nice low flat level, making that trunk really work hard. Good. As he moves through those push-ups, guys, notice he's not letting his thighs or his hips or his stomach kind of load bear on the ground or collapse on the ground. It's deliberately reaching the chest as that leading point, getting a nice short contact and then straight back out again. So he's using that stretch reflex to his advantage to get through those reps more efficiently. We've got about 30 more seconds. So remember, this one is all about connecting the pelvis up to the rib cage through that bridge through the middle there. Keep it locked in place. Make sure those two things aren't kind of moving back and forth away from one another. Good, 15 seconds. Three, 2, 1, and done. Alrighty, well done, Maddie. Guys, that is the build workout done. Take some recovery time, grab some water, and then we're gonna check out Move next. Alrighty, so we're gonna have a look at the Move workout now, guys. This one is 4 rounds, and it's gonna be interval style. So we're gonna see 3 working rounds plus a rest round. So minute 1 is gonna be any sort of cardio of your choice. We're gonna go with double unders, which is gonna look like this. Pressure's on. There we go. So double unders, obviously doing 2 rope passes per jump with that skipping rope. You guys can decide what you want to do, whether you do the same thing or a different thing. Minute number 2 is going to be burpees. So we are coming down, chest to ground, popping up to the jump. Minute 3 is going to be air squats. So just a good old fashioned normal bodyweight squats. Minute 4 will be a rest round. So what I want you guys to do is in those 3 working rounds, try to work the whole minute. Work the entire time and then save your rest for when you have that off minute. Maddie, you good to go? Yep. All right, starting in 10. And go for it. So if you're doing the same as us guys doing these double unders, we want to think about really nice, efficient body positioning. It's not the right idea to just jump into it and just start flailing around and just spinning the rope as fast as possible. We want to think about getting a nice, clean, efficient bounce off the balls of the feet, keeping the body nice and upright. And we're thinking about elbows kind of tying in close to the body. So if you find yourself doing gigantic big shoulder circles or really aggressive bicep curls, I'm going to try and tie that in and just get a nice little flick at the wrist. There might be a little bit of bend at the elbow, a little bit of bend at the knee, but it's going to be fairly minimal. Now you guys remember, you can pick your own cardio choices here. You can decide to do whatever you want. Maybe it's jumping jacks, maybe it's doing some shuttle runs. Something simple though that's going to be continuous for the full minute. 10 seconds, Maddie. Okay, so we're going to get into the burpees next. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So dropping down fully flat to the ground, guys. We want to make sure that we see the difference between this and like an up-down where we would usually stop that push-up position. This does need to be all the way down. So pecs to the floor. Burpees sometimes has a tendency when people are trying to move it too quick that they put their thighs, hips and stomach down, but they kind of leave the chest peaked up off the ground. I want to see a fully flat position at the bottom there. As you pop up, we're going to make sure that we get open through the hips at the top as we jump and do that hand contact either above or behind the head. Twenty more seconds. You see Maddie does that nice controlled kind of roll down. It's not quite a strict push up, but it's not a complete flop either. It's just sort of a nice smooth roll down to the floor. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and going into air squats. So like we did in the warm-up, guys, we're thinking about getting the knees nice and open, heels flat on the ground, and we want to get the hips below the height of the knees. So really trying to sink down, find that good range of motion. We always want to prioritize that. So if you can get there, but when you bring the speed, it starts to kind of get a bit shaky, you lose that technique, just slow things down. Make sure the movement looks good first, then we'll bring the intensity. Once that consistent good form is there all the time, then you can start to bring that speed. Now you notice that Maddie's bringing his arms up every time he sits down into it. That's just to kind of keep his posture tall. Okay, and it's going to kind of be a little bit of a counterbalance, like as he comes down, it's going to spring him back up out of it. That as opposed to his head and his shoulders and his arms kind of being cast downwards. It's very easy to start leaning over and missing depth and loading up that low back. 3, 2, 1, and resting. All right, so 60-second rest here, guys. Have a little bit of a move around, get some water in. If you want to kind of review how your technique felt on those last couple of rounds, make sure you take note of any improvements you feel like you need to do, tidy them up for the following ones. Always be looking to be more efficient each time. Thirty seconds. Okay, 10 seconds. So we're going to get ready for round number 2. And we are starting off with your cardio of choice. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So we can see kind of what I was talking about before, guys. There's not much of Maddie's body that's moving right now. So a little bit of softness knees and ankles, a little bit of softness elbows and wrists. But everything is pretty much staying where it is. Head's nice and tall. He's just got the eyes straight ahead, picking out a spot that he's focusing on and just dialing into what's happening with the rope. It does help with this, guys, to be able to hear the rope as well. If you've got like loud music on, turn it down. Try to listen to the timing of your feet and the rope and get that coordination. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and go for burpees. Now for this round, guys, let's focus on the hip position, right? As Maddie moves in and out of this, you'll notice that the hips stay nice and high. So there's actually not a lot of knee bend going on. It's more about asking the body for more hamstring flexibility. So when he comes down, he's going to reach almost like, I think almost like a deadlift position. He's going to hinge over, reach for the ground, and then jump the legs out, as opposed to him kind of squatting down or crunching down into a ball and having those knees forward of the arms. We're going to try and hinge the movement as we go down and as we come up as well. You can see that he jumps the feet out wide and gets the hips high as he presses off the ground. Good. 3, 2, 1, and go for air squats. Now, if you're a little newer to this, guys, or you find that maybe your hip, knee, ankle mobility, whatever it might be, is a little bit kind of sketchy, put a chair behind you or a box or a couch or a coffee table, anything as a squat marker, something that you can work consistently to. And over time, so not necessarily in this session, but over the weeks and months, try to lower that height down and build and build and build. So that gradual drop in height will give you the time to kind of work through it and maintain all the points that we want. We don't want to try and go too deep too soon if the body's not ready for it. If the ankle mobility is too tight, those heels are going to be popping up. So give it time to gradually work down into it and maintain the shape that we want. Ten more seconds. 3, 2, 1, and resting. All right, so that's 2 rounds down. We've got 2 to go. Thirty seconds. Ten seconds. So starting back on your cardio of choice, guys. Gonna go in at 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Now, if you don't happen to have double unders, guys, you can obviously go single unders. You can pick whichever cardio version you want to do with this. And if it gives you more consistency throughout the minute, single unders might be the better way to go. You might have double unders, but you might be only doing 2 or 3 at a time, then having to rest and having to stop. This is more about getting that heart rate up. So pick something that you can do smoothly throughout the minute. If you don't happen to have a rope, guys, you can just do those penguin jumps. So jumping and tapping at the top of the jump. That's going to work the same musculature and still work the timing at least. 15 more seconds. All right, 3, 2, 1, and go for burpees. So similar to the mountain climbers in the build section we did last, guys, you'll notice Matty is on the knuckles here. That's not something that you have to do. It's just something he does individually for his comfort level. We'll generally go on a flat palm with this one, but whatever feels best for your wrists along the way. If you find these really, really challenging, guys, like they just skyrocket the heart rate, have you stopping a lot throughout the minute, play around with stepping out and stepping into the burpee. So like that, and then stepping back up again. It's slower, but in turn that's going to allow your heart rate to just sit that little bit lower as well. So it might allow you to kind of get through the minute more consistently than trying to rush it and try to go for that full version and having you blow up too soon. All right, 3, 2, 1, and on air squats. And one thing that Matty's doing really nicely here that I want you guys to try and sort of copy at home is when he sits down into the squat, he's initiating at the hip first, right? It's quite a common mistake that people will start bending those knees early and trying to sink the hips straight at the heels. You want to think about the hips peeking back just a half a second before the knees bend, and that's just so we can kind of get onto the hamstrings, get onto the glutes, and then the knees will come into it as a secondary piece, and that stops the knees from really driving excessively far over the toes. We'll generally have a little bit of forward shin angle and forward knee placement, but as long as we've started through the hips and then they kind of come forward at the bottom of the movement, that's okay. That's going to be a nice stable squat. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and resting. All right, so one more 60-second rest, guys, and then we've got one more round to get through. Okay, 30 seconds to go. Ten seconds. So this is going to be our final cycle through this. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. And this being the last round, guys, you want to make sure that you are pushing that discomfort level. The first few, obviously, we've got to kind of pace it out a little bit. When we've got rounds to go, we've got to be kind of cautious with how hard we push. Don't want to blow ourselves up too early. Now that we know we're on the home stretch, this is where we can kind of push that limit a little bit. We can flirt with that top end, that red line. See how long we can hold on for the double unders, or if it's jumping jacks, if it's running, see what kind of pace we can hold on to and still be able to move through the burpees and the squats. Right, 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So no matter how tired you get on these burpees, guys, we still want to keep a level of tension through that trunk. So Matty's never going to get to the point where he just kind of just flops flat to the ground. He's going to keep it controlled and get that sort of slightly kind of curved push-up position. So you notice that his feet will hit the ground, and then it's going to be knees just before thighs, just before hips, just before sort of abs and chest. Okay, and it's going to be a reverse order on the way back out. He kind of presses off, peels off the ground. Once his body gets in that kind of semi-arched position, he's going to whip the hips up, jump those feet in. So he's using a nice springy kind of efficient technique to get through it. Ten seconds. 3, 2, 1, and go for air squats, so last minute. So remember, initiate the hips first, knees second. And you should always have the sense that with your feet, they feel like they're trying to kind of almost push the ground apart or split the ground. You want to have that nice outwards pressure. And it'll get your butt to switch on and work that a little bit harder. It'll also keep the knees in good position as far as like tracking with the toes. Almost there, Matty, doing good. Last 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, that is the move section done, guys. Have a bit of a chill. We've got the finisher coming up next. Okay, so checking out the finisher, guys, what we have is 2 movements. So the first one is going to be hammer curls, which is going to look like this. So palms facing in, curling up to about chest height. The other movement we're going to do is a seesaw upright row. So we're going to go one arm, then the other one, pulling up to about collarbone height. How this is going to be structured is we're going to do 20 seconds of the curls, followed by a 10-second rest, then 20 seconds of the seesaw upright row, followed by another 10-second rest, and we're going to do that for 4 sets. Good to go, Matty? Yep. All right, starting in 10. Going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So with this being sort of isolated direct arm work, guys, we want to think about keeping it nice and controlled in the sense of we don't want the rest of the body getting involved with this. So we don't want any kind of lifting with the hips or any momentum, no hinging and pulling. It's not a clean, nothing like that. We want to keep it just to the arms. And resting. So you'll see with this upright row as well, body's going to stay locked in place. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. It can be tempting, especially if you've got some fairly heavy weight, to start doing a little bit of a lift with the hips, get some momentum behind it. We don't want that. We want to make the arms do the work, keep it nice and strict. And resting. So move back to the hammer curls. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So key things here, guys, you want to see arms at full extension at the bottom. So that's not to say that they're going to switch off and relax, but we want to see the elbow fully lock out. At the top, hands should be sort of about kind of pec line or chest line there, making sure we're not going so high as to switch off at the top and relax over the shoulders. I'm going to keep that tension on. And resting. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. And with this one, we're going to have the same sort of deal of fully extended arms. They're going to be more around the front of the body this time, so in front of your pockets, and leading with the elbow as we pull up. So we're trying to get up around that collarbones, ideally we want to get to, although we don't want to force it and crank a really big bend in the wrist. So, and resting. That might be relative to your own mobility levels, guys. If you're lacking a little bit of internal rotation, you might find that kind of challenging, but just do the best you can. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Now you notice that Maddie's posture is nice and strong too. He's keeping his shoulders drawn back. So nice, high, proud chest, head's up tall there, and he's just keeping that elbow position kind of locked in. It's like he's squeezing against his ribs, making those biceps do all the work. And resting. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So this being kind of like an alternating back and forth, right to left kind of thing, guys, you want to make sure that you're bracing that midsection. So when you pull on one side, it's not kind of, body's not wanting to shift to that side. We're going to keep ourselves nice and level. Fight the urge to lean either way. Resting. So we've got one more round on each. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So we have those palms facing in towards each other, so it's a nice neutral position. And resting. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So you can see Maddie's wrist position stays nice and straight throughout it. He's not kind of leaving the elbow down and just trying to elevate the dumbbell itself. So focus on drawing the elbow up versus drawing the dumbbell up. And done. Alrighty, so that is the finisher done, guys. Have some rest time, and then we're going to finish off with some cool down stretches next. Alrighty guys, so we're going to finish things off with a little bit of cool down mobility. So the first drill we're going to do is a seated shoulder stretch. So this one we're going to do for 1 minute. So it's legs out in front, hands on the ground behind you. This one is going to be focused on sort of pecs, shoulders, biceps. You might even start to feel it into all those muscles in between the ribs down there, the whole deal. Now, ideally what we want to see over time, so not necessarily today, but over time, is those hands are going to creep closer and closer together to the point that you can get your pinkies to touch. You can also slide the hips forward. So Maddie's got that wound up nice and tight. He's kind of crept forward a little bit there. He's got that chest nice and tall, and he's drawing those shoulder blades back together. So he's maximizing the amount of stretch he's getting through the front of the chest and shoulders. What you don't want to do is have your shoulders kind of rounded in to try and make it more comfortable on yourself. You want to actually lean into it and really get that good stretch. So over time, each time Maddie will do this, you'll creep the hands a little bit closer together. Good. Good. All right, so that's our first drill. The second one we're going to do is a toe touch. Now we're going to kind of do this as two pieces. We're going to go feet together. We're going to take a real big breath in and make ourselves as tall and as long as possible. Then we're going to exhale, come down, touching the toes or the floor or whatever, whereabouts your mobility will get you to. Maybe it's the mid shin. And we're just breathing, exhaling as we come down, really relaxing down into it. So for this particular one, guys, we're going to keep the legs straight, but we're also going to try and sort of hinge at the hip. So there'll be a little bit of back rounding, but we don't want to go excessive with it. So if it means that you don't go quite so deep, that's okay. I'm going to try to think about stretching the hamstrings, not just the low back. Big breath in, just getting right up into those lats and shoulders, and then breathing out, stretching out that rear chain. Good, we'll go one more. Breathing out. Nice. All right, so those are the two drills, guys. We'll go back and forth on each of them for 3 or 4 rounds or whatever you have time to fit in. Mobilize the body a little bit. Otherwise, we'll catch you next time, and that's been your MOV+ workout.